Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sudeep here, your host for the evening. Welcome to the masterclass. Let me take a moment to introduce Alok, who's our speaker for the afternoon. Alok is the co-founder of vSense.ai, an AI startup. vSense working on retail analytics using cutting edge technologies and building solutions to facilitate capturing, analyzing, and acting on real-time data. By the way, Alok is a serial entrepreneur and tech leader who has led technology teams in IoT, gaming, real estate, telecom, online classifieds, etc., with very successful exits. Before starting Aryabhatta Robotics, which is vSense right, he was head of engineering at Quicker Homes. After his startup, Reality Compass, was acquired by Quicker in 2015. And Alok is an electronics engineering graduate from Manipal Institute of Technology. To give you a little context of the masterclass, in this masterclass, Alok would be talking about actual use cases in production that use this technology and have been able to automate things in the real world using smarter cameras. Please feel free to queue in your questions in the chat window or the Q&A section, which will be taken up at the last or at the end of the call in the last 15 minutes of the session. All right. In between, Alok might be asking you some questions. Please key in your responses in the chat window. So without wasting any more time, Alok, over to you.
Hey, hi. Thanks, Sudeep. Hi, guys. I hope you had a a good lunch because we'll be having a very interesting discussion. This is about the future. This is about computer vision applications in production. I think everyone knows the topic, but I'll just cover what we'll talk about today. We'll be having a very brief session. Mostly things that I'm going to talk about are not available anywhere on the internet. This is from our personal experience while building applications, right? And I'm sure you will have a lot to gain from that if you are having anything to do with this field of AI, IoT, or computer vision, right? So we'll quickly cover a lot of variety of examples, and definitely I'll give you pointers on how you can make your application work, right? And why you should listen to me, right? I mean, I have been doing machine learning and AI for a very long time now, and my first experience was when we were building smarter enemies in games R&D, and later in Reality Compass to make us smarter predictions for real estate users, right? And that's when I realized that real world lacks data. There are enough sources of data available, they're not organized, right? So we even had a 40-member team in Reality Compass who used to curate the data so that we can tag it and recommend better housing prices, or what house you would need to buy, right? And that was the technology that is still in use at Quicker Homes. Sure. So what is the use of it? I mean, if you have the data, what would you do with it? So that is what we do at vSense. We build smarter devices, and it is for a situational awareness. What is a situational awareness? It is generally a military and it is a term used in the military, but we are using it for workplaces, right? And typically retail stores, schools, colleges, anywhere where you would need data. That is what we do. And how we would use AI is through IoT. IoT is typically seen as a vehicle for AI. You can't decouple the two, right? I mean, you need input of data which is coming through machines, which are not going to be your standard machines in the business environment, right? So you would need IoT. So I'll talk about both of these terms together. So, I mean, you can't have one without the other, right? So yeah, what is computer vision? Let's talk about that part. So when we are building a computer vision application, it means anything which is this new economy that people are investing in. And we have completed a shift over the last decade to mobile class computing. Now, all the big chip companies, you might have heard the recent news on ARM and NVIDIA, right? So in the long to medium term, that will have a big impact on how we do interact with things, right? Let's say you look around you, you will have at least one smart device around you other than your phone, At least in my house, I have Alexa, I have a Google Home, and a smart TV. So these are things which are already in production. We are not talking theory here. 2-3 years ago, it was theory. So can you believe how fast it has evolved? So this is entirely new for us. So I'm here to give some perspective because we have worked on some technologies here in the last few years, and I'll give you some examples because examples are interesting. Theory is boring. I'll not cover any theory today. It will be mostly based on real world experience, right? So okay, let's look at a video frame. That is where everything starts. In real world, videos are not represented in picture. Sorry, the AI computer vision doesn't work on pictures, it works on videos, right? Because that's how the data is stored. And if you look at it as a representation of a video, will be in multiple sequences of frame running at some frames per second. Each of these frames contains information that you want a human to understand. This is the information, that is the pixel RGB values which are stored as a JPEG, right? That is a standard. But when a human sees this, he won't understand it. He would need something like this, the metadata on these images, right? What is the detections that you have? And since it's a video, it's moving, you'll not only need detections, you will also need tracking. So tracking is through a sequence of frame, I want to see this is the same object, right? And that is very important in industrial applications or anywhere you want to work with a camera. You would need tracking as well as detection. These are the first two in the pipeline of building a proper computer vision application. And when you build a computer vision application, you are looking at examples. So let's start with what are the things we had built, right? So starting with the retail store outside, when you place a camera, it analyzes how many people saw it, how much time they saw it, and even the area of the advertisement that they looked at, right? This is used in a lot of big retail companies, including Tata Group and a lot of our clients, where they use it to analyze how many people after this they enter the store. So you have a conversion, from the walk-in till the conversion, we are able to track it just through a camera, right? So how is walk-in counted? This is one of our proprietary technology called Traffic Sense. So as soon as a customer walks in, he will be excluded if he based on his t-shirt and his face, if he is registered. So an employee will not be counted, but as you can see, the customers are getting counted, including their age, gender, even their tracking is going on here. So all of this is running in real time, so that it can give a notification on how many people came in, right? Then for a major eyewear company, we built customer attribute tracking, like this one. We have multiple attributes that we track. This is like whether you're wearing glasses or not. This is a very simple one to do, and it needs some amount of training. That's it. And the training part I'll explain in detail. We'll just go through some examples. This is about classroom attentiveness. This is very relevant now. So what is the score that your kid gets, and we work with a top school for measuring in-class performance of students, right? And this is something that is going to stay. Classroom participation means it's a combination score using your whether how many times you raised your hand, what was the direction of your eyes, and your overall movement. We give a participation score, right? And that is what a lot of people are moving towards in smart education, right? Because earlier education was one to one. Now sorry, education was one to many, right? Now it will be one to one using technology. So yeah, SOP adherence. This was for one of the leading coffee shop chains in India. We I wanted to identify pilferage on how many cups were actually being dispensed rather than the one which is recorded by the POS machine. So let's say I can bill for 5 cups, but I will be giving you 10 cups, and I'll keep the money for the 5 as a staff, right? So without the knowledge of the staff, we were able to track it through the CCTV cameras on how many actual cups are there being dispensed every time, right? So we did it at multiple stores, and this was a success. We were able to identify close to 7 crores worth of deficit, right? Okay, this is one of my favorite examples. We built this is for a German company that we built last year. It was a key dispenser. So they are a self-driving car. So like you take out the car like Zoom car and you drive it, and this is a machine that you interact with. You don't need to go to the booking office and see how many cars are available. So in this machine, you directly book and you get the key of the car and you go and drive away. So how it works? This is the staff of that company. As the cars come into the parking lot, they'll put all the keys here, right? And I'll show you how it looks internally. Why is it computer vision? I hope you can see my screen. So this is how it looks internally. Internally, we have camera here, right? This camera scans whatever key is mapped to a car number, right? So let's say K51J, some car number is there. So as this camera moves across to various slots which are designated for the keys, it will use normal OCR, this is image recognition, and understand what is the text. Based on that, we will have a mapping. So when someone enters a car number, we will be able to dispense the right key based on that. Okay. So, and as you can see, there is this metal thing which is coming out, which is to hold the key and dispense it. This is the actual dispenser part, right? So this is an excellent example of how computer vision has really impacted in the way a customer experiences better now, right? Because he doesn't need to wait in line. He can just stand here just like an ATM and get the key, right? You land at the airport and you get the key. This is another example. This we did for a 7-star hotel where as we recorded customers from one area of the hotel, and when they travel to, let's say, area which is in their pantry, or in, let's say, their coffee shop, they are able to track who were these people and give them it is tagged to their room number, right? So you don't need to tell your room number, okay, in the morning breakfast when you're checked in. You automatically are identified, and there's no human involved here, so there's no privacy issue, right? And you have consented for being identified. So this is one of the very interesting use cases we had worked on. And yeah, this is a very recent thing that we have built. We built this in partnership with Wipro. This is a compliance device called Clear Health, which does 4 or 5 things. I'll explain to you. There's a camera here, and with a flash, it has a screen, and at the bottom we have a proximity sensor and a sanitizer dispenser. So in one shot, if I'm entering a particular office, I put my hand, and immediately my temperature is recorded, my face is recorded, and my compliance data. If my temperature is high, it will give out an alarm right then and there, and it will detect whether I'm wearing a mask. If I'm not wearing a mask, if I'm not wearing a mask, I may not be allowed. The alarm will ring, so that I'm not allowed, right? And yeah, and then you will get a dashboard like this where you can see how many people came in. Give you a closer shot of the dashboard. It's here. So in the dashboard, you can clearly identify how many people were there, what were their times, and you can download all of this. You can integrate with your HR system. So touchless workplaces are coming, and this is going to be technology that will be part of the new normal, is what we believe, right? So moving on, what are the other examples? Social distancing. So we have existing CCTV cameras. We worked with multiple clients for this project. This was in demand due to the COVID pandemic, and we were able to understand at a aggregate level how many people are wearing masks and how many people are not maintaining social distancing in a particular area. So they can issue awareness, they can issue guidelines on how you should behave in a public place or in an office, and particularly in factories, this is very important. So yeah, now that we have covered so many examples, let's talk about the production stack. What is this production stack about? We ran these applications. This is running on a stack of software which we have built from scratch. What is it that it has? We want to extract meaningful information from video, right? You can today download something from GitHub. You can get examples, and that's it. But will it run? I'll give you the example of Toyota. Even if you have a 1 lakh kilometer on the odometer, they generally don't have major part replacements. That is how reliable they are, right? So having scaled multiple products in production to millions of requests, I always build something for scale. So the production stack means you are building it for scale. So we'll walk through that. So first thing you need is a remote SSH login provider, because your edge device is going to run the software which will analyze the camera feed, right? And that device, if it goes down, you don't have any option. So you need for emergency cases to be able to log into each and every device. So we use a provider called Remote IT. There are hundreds out there. You can build your own as well. So next you would need a SBC, right? Something which is having onboard GPU or a VPU. So VPU are these new classes of devices like uh, this neural compute stick from Intel, and you can add them. They are generally having a fanless design, which and very low power consumption. These are the two main characteristics of SBC, which you would prefer over a normal laptop or some other compute device that you may have, including your phone, because Android and phones are not meant to run 24 hours a day, and they generally heat up. So this is the reason we use a edge device. All right. So what else would you need? I have put out the list. Yes, you would need it to be sent to the cloud. I'll walk through this whole architecture, but this is a list that I have written down. Next, you would need something on the server side to process it. It can be through PubSub, MQTT, whatever protocol you choose. We prefer PubSub because MQTT typically needs additional firewall access, and PubSub works on HTTPS, so you don't need anything. And yeah, you need to analyze the data on the server. You need a time series storage which will analyze all these events. Okay, let's say for a temperature case which I talked about just now in the safe workplaces, if I need to understand how many people came in, what were their behavior, I'll need hundreds of events which I can dig through and extract meaningful information. So for that reason, you will have APIs also to get the data out of these time series databases, which we prefer serverless because all the cloud stacks have moved to serverless. It's very easy to manage. Without having a single DevOps person, we were able to manage, at least 5,000 cameras over the last 3 years using serverless, right? The server never went down. That is how reliable you have to make your application. So you can start serverless to start with, but once you have reached a scale, you would definitely need to move to something which is your own managed things for cost reasons, nothing else. Then what else would you need? You would need a way to have your code updated on the local devices, on the edge devices, and you will need a OTA capability, like just like your phones, right? And yes, a model training pipeline is something if you are capturing the data. In most cases, the data is not captured, it is processed, and just the metadata is sent, right? And yes, the last one is what we all experience, no internet scenarios. So because it's edge device, it doesn't need the internet to process it, right? It will process it on the edge, store it locally, and keep on trying to reach the server until it can. That is something you have to build. If you have downloaded some code from GitHub and you put it on the client's machine, you know what will happen next, right? It will not work for some reason. So why we built vSense? Let's go to the reason why we have actually built a new stack rather than using, let's say, there are a lot of cloud providers which provide it, but nothing is built for vision is something that we noticed. And these are the n number of things that you need. Some of them are provided by cloud providers like Google, Azure, and AWS. But if you need something custom for your vision applications, that is the reason we built vSense, right? And how we achieve product market fit, I'll walk you through the vSense product architecture next. But we targeted the retail customers first, and we built something called senses. So what are these senses? Senses are like when you extract some real world information, you extract its meaning. You would want it to be sensed. So that is how we are called vSense. So aisle sense, traffic sense, queue sense, advertisement sense. These are the senses that we provide for retail clients, right? So in a retail world, the ROI for computer vision is quite high. So that's why you see a lot of startups in this domain as well, right? And this is one of the early adopters of this technology. Then there is industry. There are a lot of other adopters. Self-driving cars is the best one, best example. But this is how we are directly affecting business metric. In some cases, more than 30% increase in revenue because of tracking of having better data, right? So data is very important in the offline business like a retail store. Yeah. So this is how we started. Some of the early pilots looked like this. We had no way to place the edge devices. We didn't have any standardization. So we used off the shelf, whatever was available. So as you can see on the left side, we used an Intel Nuke box with your standard webcam to track, customers walking inside a particular area. And yeah, this is for an industrial scenario where we used to analyze defects on tooling. Let's say every time you use a tool bit, it wears out, the tool head wears out. So using this camera, you can understand what is the amount of time left for it, right? You just place it under this thing. Although it looks crude, it worked. And even the whole NUC box also worked. So when you are putting it together for a CCTV camera, how does it look like? So CCTV cameras have this universal protocol called RTSP. It's a standard which uses the 554 local port, and it is able to give you video streams for all of the cameras through the NVR or the DVR. In some of the IP cameras, you can directly interface with it. You don't need this middle thing, but it is used for storing the videos, right? So but storing the videos is just a dumb way to store it, because you don't really use what is the metadata inside it, right? So that's why we had the Zorro box. The Zorro box is having our entire vSense stack, and it runs whatever I had. It runs on Linux, so it runs this entire analysis and everything offline, right? Then yes, whenever you start setting up a particular store, this is how we set up. We have this setup process where all the cameras are seen in the dashboard. Then each of these cameras, you have to draw a particular tracking area. I'll cover more of this in the next slides. So the tracking area will be it will be something that will be your it is used essentially to know what is the metadata inside a particular region, right? So I want, this is a particular region, that is a particular region. I set up these departments, and then I can get data in this format. This is one of our product called ILSense, where I can see at an aggregate level how the customer flow happened from the entrance to this area to this area to the admin area, right? And I will know where they're dropping off. So I can, just like your website, right? In your website, you make real world changes to how the flow of visitors to the, let's say in an e-commerce site, to your payment gateway. So similarly, you would need the same kind of thing in an offline space. This is how you are able to deliver, right? In computer vision. Yeah, I think we are pretty much covered on what vSense does, what stack we have. I'll go in detail on the architecture bit. So these are some dashboards that we have. Before the dashboard, I'll explain how exactly vSense we have built the production stack, right? The production stack is something, if you are, I'm not advocating that vSense is something that you have to use, right? Even if you build your own, this is something which is a standard now. Even your Azure or anyone else uses the same architecture, right? So yeah, what would you need? You would need something which is an edge compute module, which is it may be your laptop, as I said, but it is typically a SBC, which is capable of edge computing. And a lot of vendors are available now. Asus and Intel, all of them have come up with their own edge products. You can just browse them on the internet. They are ranging in the price of, let's say, 10,000 to 30, 50,000, depending on your workload. So even we have had devices which more than 100 cameras, which was based on the Intel platform. So we had 8 Movidius sticks, so which means 8 into myriad architecture VPUs, right? So VPUs are able to process camera feeds faster. Visual processing units, VPU, like a GPU. So yeah, when you have computed this inference, you would typically want to send it to the cloud, and you would want to infer what is there, and you will present to the client with a dashboard. That is how simple I can put, that is the simplest I can put it in. And how you would see this dashboard is, so I have put 2 sample dashboards here. One for, I previously showed you one of our HealthSense, the Clear Health product, where the mask compliance and temperature compliance and the sanitation compliance was shown. Here we are able to see the customer walk-ins in one dashboard. Here we are able to see the repeat and new users, the customers. Everything is centralized. That is the whole idea. Sitting in your head office in Mumbai, Delhi, or Bangalore, you can see all the places, all the factories. Let's say you are running a chain of hospitals, right? You would want to know what is happening in each of these hospitals. If you are running anything which has to do with a brick and mortar, right, you have to automate it and you have to get the data, and computer vision is the only way to do it, right? The other way is to have a human. I mean, a human can always replace a computer, but having hundreds of humans is not feasible, and that too in real time they can't transmit information. All right, so that's how we have organized our stack. So yeah, coming to this back, you have this notification system which you have to build again from scratch, because notifications are typically in an enterprise environment. In an enterprise environment, you would not be able to call third-party providers. You might even we had one case where we ran a our own mail server, just because we did not have access to send an email, right? So yeah, it depends on your particular client, what is he comfortable with. Most clients are not comfortable with sending their data to the cloud, right? Whereas particularly the large enterprises. So yes, this is the dashboard, and this is the architecture of eSense. Let's go to one more part, which is the edge application. So as you can see here, this little part, uh, edge application runs in store. So in the edge application is nothing but, in our case, we have built different edge applications which are having all of these capabilities which I discussed here, right? It can last without internet. It has debugging capabilities. It has device management part, which I'll talk about next. But it can send data, right? That is the whole bottom line, and you can see what is happening. This is some diagnosis is there. You can see whether it is able to reach the internet. You can update it, and we are able to see here vSense is the platform what we run in, and Traffic Sense is the application. So for us, vSense is like Android app. Senses are like these apps that we run on it, right? The computer vision apps. So in this case, it is Traffic Sense. So these apps are cross-platform. Again, you have to think about cross-platform. Some customers may not have what you need. So when I talk about production, I'm talking about enterprises, guys. I am not talking about anything else. So this is the architecture of the first version of this Clear Health product, where we are doing face detection, mask detection. Even now we are doing the face recognition on the high-end device. This is the architecture for one of our low-end devices, where the data is sent to the cloud and it is analyzed there. So this is the typical format of the data. You will have client, location, and the camera number. This is how we standardize um, the different mapping of different devices to their clients, right? And when you get the image, we pass it as a text format. Is not the best way, but typically when we pass it, we would use direct storage, which is your file storage. So once this data comes in, it is displayed based on whatever you need, right? Now I think pretty much on the architecture side we have a good idea, I hope, on what are the things that we covered. Let's move to the next part, which is, yes, which is what are the common mistakes in infra. So yes, network monitoring is very important. Unlike your server, which is mostly always available, your edge devices are continuously running on and off, right? So you would not want to depend on that. So in some cases, like you can use the cloud providers IoT platform, which lets you manage the devices, but it will not let you learn each and everything. Let's say, for example, I want to run monitor how much CPU consumption is going on. I want to detect and send me an alert whenever there's a downtime. I want to run multiple versions of my code, right? So these are the things. You may even want to record some of the videos from the client's location, so that you have multiple options there, right? So that is very important. Yeah. So this is a common mistake in camera positioning. I'll show you one of our clients video. If you look at it, this is a security guard. If he's standing in front of your wherever you are starting to track, then it becomes a big problem for you. And this is how, sorry, I moved on. Yeah. So as you can see, this red color thing is where we will be trying to adjust whether from this camera position, whether we can have a accuracy that we would expect from Traffic Sense, right? Whether we can accurately track the walk-in. But as you can see, it is not accurate. So what we do, we change this line to this part, just like you would have as a tripwire. We call it a tripwire. So this is much better, right? But still, we are still getting multiple results. So to solve that, we use the second camera. So this is how we use the second camera. So there is one camera on the left side, one camera on the front, and you can combine both of these and get the tracks and combine them into getting one walk-in, right? So this is for illustration how we exactly solve this problem. We have walk-ins across both the cameras, which we are merging into one, so that you get one count across multiple cameras, right? Yeah, so camera repositioning apart, I think everything else in CCTVs and computer vision is a very dynamic thing. You have to have your own common sense whenever you're doing some things. It's a lot of fun when you do these projects, because you can actually see the data, right? It is, and you can recreate it just by walking or just by doing some action, which is not possible inside the screen. So this field is very interesting. I will also show you one thing which I showed initially. Let me go back. Yes. So if you look at our traffic sense product now, with the hindsight, you can see that, okay, there is a desktop computer here in which we are running this application. We are able to process the video feed through RTSP, which I explained, and without even adding any extra infrastructure. He's just using his existing cameras, but we are able to extract information from these cameras now. That is the most important part. And if you are able to do it at this extent, so definitely your application will have a lot of use cases that you can add later. So the way we have added in vSense is using senses. So similarly, you can build your own computer vision applications on vSense if you want. Is a shameless plug, but or you can build it on your own. It depends on your actual need, right? So yeah, I think I pretty much covered the architecture point of view, and yes, the common use cases. We can proceed to the questions, and I would be glad to answer anything. If you are working with computer vision or at all, anything at all, we can definitely discuss what all we can do there, right? Yeah, so I can see
Yeah,
some
so
questions.
Alok, there's one question which is come in, and I'm happy to moderate this for you. So the
Sure.
first question I can see on the screen is, does this comply with the privacy laws when we store human faces, for example?
Right. Yeah, that's a absolutely important question. I'll answer that. So we really respect individuals' privacy, right? That's our intention. As good human beings, we don't want to intrude into your privacy. And how does it comply with the privacy law? So we are GDPR certified. How are we GDPR certified? You might ask. So where GDPR comes in, where you have a personally identifiable information, PII, right? So let's say I have your phone number and I have your house address. Now I can link the two, right? But if I have a person's face, right, I am not able to extract meaningful information other than aggregate data, right? So if you're talking about aggregate data, then no, privacy laws are not infringed on. But yes, if I say that, okay, this is Alok, then you have to have a consent. So that is what we do in our HealthSense product, where we take a consent from the customer, from the employee. As an employee, you are eligible to be tracked inside your office premises. Let's say you're working in a retail store, or doesn't matter, in a school also, or college. So there you have your thing. Okay, so the next question: how
Uh,
well
so
does
the yeah, so I
yeah,
I can read it for you, Alok. So the next question is, how well does your object model handle occlusions?
yeah, this is a good question. This, I think, is coming from someone who is quite experienced. So object tracking is a problem which is solved using re-identification. As you would know, re-identification is the way where, we have one frame which has a particular let's say a face and a body ID, right? So let's say there is a signature of a person. As it moves to the next frame, that signature remains the same. That's how you have to handle occlusions. So this is a very common problem. Thanks for pointing it out, which I had missed. So how you would track it is, you have to maintain the object signature in memory until the object is out of your entire area of viewing, like region of interest. So once it is out of your region of interest, if you are handling multiple cameras like we do in ILSense, then you have to store it forever. In Redis, we store it today. So we store it and we match it with any new object signature that comes. So for example, Alok comes with this same t-shirt and he comes in one part of the store and he comes into another part of the store. If his face is shown or some of the parts are matching with the existing stored signature, then I can track and relate that ID to this ID, that okay, this particular person has spent 10 minutes in the store because 10 minutes back I had that signature, right? So occlusions, you have to use multiple cameras, and in case it's a highly occluded thing, you should not even go ahead. You would rather use a different camera position, as I showed you, multiple cameras.
Sure. So another question has come from Dr. Naresh Kumar, and he has a question on the concept of saliency and how is it useful in tracking.
How is the I'm sorry, I could not understand.
Yeah, he's asking, he has question on the concept of saliency and how is it useful in tracking.
Saliency of which data? I mean, is it about the important differences or the prominence of that data? So yes, I think if you have poor lighting, then the saliency is affected. Let's say you are talking about a place where you have lighting behind you, then your entire object is having a very dark picture, so you would not be able to match the signature. So that is where your second part will come in, where you will have to make sure when you take a signature, you take only of the objects that are having this kind of clarity, or else you will not store the signature and you will lose the data point of that, rather than having a wrong data in your database. So yes.
Another question is come from Manisha. How long the customer walking info is stored in the app to utilize it further? Do you also collect if it is returning customer who has bought in store earlier?
Right. So this is depending on the needs of the customer, Manisha. So let's say some clients, they would have a loyalty program where someone is enrolled so that he can get a benefit when he comes back. So we would take the customer's consent at the checkout counter, and there his face is captured so that he is captured as a repeat customer. Otherwise, we don't store it. After you walk out of the store, your analysis at the aggregate level is done. For traffic sense, it is done. For aisle sense, let's say how many customers spend more time, how many customers spend less time. Those kind of use cases, you would not need it. But when you're talking about something where you need to track it, yes, you would want to store it in the database, the customer signature. So yes, I can see one more question about more details on the technology use, language, framework, UI. So I specifically did not cover this because there are a lot of non-technical people in the audience, but still I'll mention that we use both Intel OpenVINO and TensorFlow as our framework, and the models are standardized and trained on the server using Google Cloud, right? And on the UI, we use Angular, Angular 10. Recently we upgraded, and I think that is pretty much on the platform side. It works on any platform: Ubuntu, Linux, Mac, OS. That is.
So Alok, there are two more questions which have come up on the chat window. The first is from Vishweswara. He's asking if there are any use cases to count and classify the vehicles in a busy urban environment, and what is the accuracy? Can vSense do this with existing surveillance camera used in smart city applications?
Right, yeah. Surveillance cameras, they have to be positioned. Again, I stress the word position because, most of the smart city projects, they fail because the cameras are mounted too high and they're not able to read number plates. But yes, counting cars is something that we had done in one of the retail companies to understand in the parking lot. So counting cars is okay as long as you don't worry about the uniqueness of the car. Or else you have to take the number plate, where you would definitely need to position it at a level, just like your toll gates have, focused on the exact thing.
So another question we have from Ashish, and he wants to know what key technologies are you using? Do you by any chance use robotic process automation?
Yeah. So robotic process automation is a jargon which has come up. I am not sure whether it's a technology in itself. It's a way to automate customer experiences, like having a no code platform. So no code, for some reason I feel that it is not something that is a large scale adoption will happen, because having a product manager write use a no code platform is fine, but when you expect a retail head or someone who is the actual client, who is the business part, he will be using RPA and finishing. That is their entire objective, right? But yes, it can be supported in UiPath and automation anywhere. We were in talks with UiPath last year regarding integrating vSense into that. So definitely, it's a possibility. But what are the use cases in the real world? That is where my objection is. In using RPA for computer vision is something which needs some time, probably other than 2 to 3 years it will take until we build a lot of use cases, and then we will have just like in Excel you can have cells where you combine these and you create pipelines of computer vision. Too far ahead. I mean, in real world we haven't reached that level. Yeah.
I think this is the last question which is coming, Alok, from Dr. Naresh Kumar. He's trying to understand how effective computing can be utilized to determine health status of human beings.
So health status, I showed you one project which where we used waves for calculating heart rate of using contactless technology. So contactless is something that I am interested in. Non-contactless ways, anyways, there are a lot of medical devices that do that. But yes, using cameras and temperature sensors, these are the ways we are able to get the health data today in a contactless way.
So Alok, we have a couple of other questions which has come in, and should we take other 2-3 questions as well?
Yeah, we have some time. We can take some more questions.
Yeah, so I'll just read this out for you from Yash Aditya. We have this question: apart from all of these discussion, if we talk about AI assistant like Giri or Google Assistant or Jarvis,
Right.
extent it is possible to accelerate the AI system if we are building it for any cheap mobile phones or laptops which are able to process all the informations. So it's basically
Right.
trying to understand on how can we achieve this.
Yeah. So, yes, we would definitely need a edge computing. If you talk about Siri or Google Assistant or Jarvis, all of them have a edge compute piece. They continuously listen to voice and process it. At least the wake up word is already stored as a neural network model. I think they even use ASIC for that application specific IC. So, yes, you would want to do it on a cheap mobile phone, but then your use cases will be limited. You can probably do some basic voice or speech recognition for a few people, but I would not recommend it for large scale deployment. You would definitely need something to process on the edge, then pass the metadata back and process the larger, let's say your NLU model will run on the server, and it will understand what it means. Let's say I said order coffee, so it will understand that, okay, I want it from my nearest coffee shop and its name is this is its number, I want it to be ordered through Swiggy, so it will place the order, right? So you can't have so much computation power on your mobile devices, on the phones at least. And
Yeah,
yes.
so we have a question coming from Saswat. Would like to know if you're working on use cases for cameras on computers, laptops. Do you think it has a very high addressable market post COVID-19 pandemic scenario?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, Saswat. I think apart from edge devices, computers are, what you can consider in the class of edge device, because they have a good process, assuming it's bought recently after 2015 or 16. So in that case, you can definitely use it for edge computing. You can use it for attendance, which is a low hanging fruit for you if you can address that market. We already have this product, but we preferred having our own device because it gives you, one is low cost, other than the fact that you can't have your laptop outside always, and also the positioning of it. So a lot of places having own edge devices makes sense. A lot of places, because of the cost, we would like to use the laptops. And okay, I'll handle the next question. How to handle thousands of devices on the fly coming via IoT? Which cloud model are you using for AI? Yeah, so as I explained, there are two models. Heavier inference models are on the cloud. Lighter inference models, which are generally quantized, are on the edge. So we sometimes used even TF Lite, but we found that the accuracy wasn't so great. But there are some use cases you can use it. But if you're talking about re-identification models, people detection models, these need to be quite accurate, and it needs higher computation. So all of them will compute some part of it. Let's say it will identify this is a person, this is the XY coordinate of it, and this is its after the track is lost, I will send that person to the cloud. So that's how thousands of devices will be sending all these people with their client location and camera numbers, and they will be combined together in the cloud. And on the cloud you can run additional inferences. So in our case, we run the age and gender model on the cloud. So whenever the person's face is there, we would compute the age and gender on the cloud, which although can be done locally, we wanted to add emotions and other attributes, customer attributes like glasses detection, so many other things, which is not standardized on the edge. So we do it on the cloud. And yeah, next.
We
Yeah,
have
there are a lot of changes, a
question.
lot of questions are there.
Yeah, so I think we can take just 2 or 3 more, right, Alok? You
Yeah, we can.
pick up like the ones you would want to prioritize, like.
Right. So there are some questions which I would like to answer. One is from Chandrasekhar. He's saying that if the same customer wears this different dress, who will be able to identify? Right. So this is a good question in traffic sense. If a customer has a signature, the signature is not just made up of his dress; it is made up of his face plus his dress. Because if you look at if you look at just my hand, right, will you be able to identify? No, right? It may be someone else's hand, but a signature of a person is in his face. So typically you would combine that with your attributes like height, which doesn't change regularly, attributes like how much is your um, entire dimension, right? So we use the dimension as a factor using converting the pixels to meters. So for that you will need the focal length of the camera, and you can understand whether it's the same customer irrespective of whatever dress he's wearing, because the threshold of match will change, that's all. But if you have set your threshold at, let's say, 80%, you would still get the customer even if he is wearing something else, no problem. So yeah, there is someone who asks, Rajiv, what are the challenges you faced while optimizing your AI model in the AI edge device? Yes, so that's an excellent question, Rajiv. So when we started like any other company. We started building models, deploying them, and when we build these models, they had like 200, 300 MB size, right? And when you deploy them on the edge, it chokes up. After a few frames, it stops. So we have batch processing that we have patented. It is a way where frames are processed in a particular batch on the edge, and let's say first the previous one is processed, then the next one is processed, and there is some pre-processing which will determine which one will take more time. So for example, I'll see whether there is a motion or not. If there is no motion, I'll not even process that frame. Then next I will see whether there is a face or a person or not. If there is no person, I'll not proceed further. Then that whole batch process will take care of it. Like if the person is there, then the face will work, then the re-identification and the other algorithms will come into play. So you are not always running all the models on the edge, right? That's the key to running it efficiently. So yes, I think one question from Mr. Shailesh: have you tried drones real-time imaging for your product? So technically drones can be used, although we haven't got an opportunity. We had built a few drones when we started, but we saw that the use cases are limited. Specifically in a warehouse, CCTV cameras are much better than drones. We have done multiple projects using CCTV cameras in the same places where drones are used. But I'm sure there are use cases like farms and analyzing open spaces where drones can be better than CCTV cameras. Yeah, and based on your demo, it looks very accurate. How long did it take for you to build each of these models, aisle sense and traffic sense and so on? So Yeah, I would say it is still a work in progress. Always, you can't, even Microsoft hasn't released the final version of Windows, right? So it is always, improving. We have reached, the accuracy that we wanted in. It took us 1.5 years of pilots and understanding data, labeling it. We have a team of people who label data so that it is used in the algorithm, and it gives better inferences, right? So all of this add together to the accuracy. Then, yeah. One more question is about, do you have any training programs? So Dr. Prasad, I'm really sorry, but we don't have at the point, but we would be working on that pretty soon. So as of now, we have a small team. We have a 25-member team, and all of us are uh, completely busy in building customer applications and building the vSense platform. But yes, we are planning to launch this in the early January of 2021, right? Yes.
So much for addressing these questions, Alok. And I can see a couple of more questions coming in, but in the interest of time, I would request all the participants to circulate your questions. I'll pass it on to Alok.
Sure.
That's okay with everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I hope it was a great session, and I will definitely be interested to stay in touch if in case you have any problems, if you want to try out vSense or anything at all. I even if you don't want to try out vSense, I can help you out. Uh, there's no such thing I'm selling here today. So
Thank you. Thank you, Alok. It was a great session. Unfortunately, I lost my internet, so I was like struggling to come back. And then I saw the flurry of questions. I'm sure, people found it very interesting. There are still questions coming in. So as Supriya mentioned, you can send in your questions and we'll pass it on to Alok for his responses. Thank you, Alok, and look forward to seeing you in another session with COE DSAI.
sure. Thank you all. Thanks so much for attending, taking your time.
Thank
I
you,
wish you the best.
everyone.
Thanks so much.